4 million people a year. It already handles 100,000 more than that. Although the last construction work ended on the terminal building in 1994, it only redesigned the check-in area and gave more space for shops. So now, £27 million is to be spent on expanding the terminal and creating more parking spaces. The reason? To allow Newcastle to compete more effectively with other regional airports, such as Manchester, Teesside and Glasgow, which are all close enough to tempt passengers away. It'll mean that new destinations such as Milan, Frankfurt and Geneva should be available from here by the turn of the century.
No one from any of the 7 local authorities who have a share in the airport was available for interview today. But a spokesman told me that the expansion would help keep the region at the forefront of economic development. Work should begin here on the site in the early new year, and it should be complete by the year 2000.
And there's speculation tonight that the North East could be in line for one of the biggest industrial developments for years. If it goes ahead, it'll bring 6,000 direct jobs and the possibility of thousands more to a massive site next to the Samsung factory on Teesside.
The arrival of Samsung was a major boost for the region, especially on Teesside, battered as it had been by massive job losses in the old heavy industries. But this latest development would put even the Korean giant in the shade. That is, if it goes ahead. It's certain extensive negotiations have been held with the local development agencies and the Department of Trade and Industry, but they're unwilling to discuss it. Hartlepool Council has also been involved in discussions with the group, a company called Crest. They apparently represent a consortium of high-tech American electronics firms.
We would be the forerunner of these developments, and these are so huge and so much money's been put into them that you start to be rather aghast and you wonder whether it's true. I've got to say that I believe, but I can understand why people might be a little reluctant in believing it.
A spokesman for Hartlepool MP, Peter Mandelson, said he was aware of the bid and had been actively involved in trying to help. And the boundary of the site lies on the doorstep of Prime Minister Tony Blair's Sedgefield constituency. If the success of the bid relies on goodwill, then there's little doubt it will happen.
This is so huge a development. The world would come here to see what there was.
An announcement on the development is expected sometime before Christmas.
A teenager who broke into a blazing house in Middlesbrough to carry a disabled man to safety may be recommended for a bravery award. 16-year-old Neil O'Connor saved Kenneth Mannion's life in the daring rescue last night. His 15-year-old friend Andrew Cook may also be in line for an award. He ran to call the fire brigade to the house on the Grove Hill estate. Today the boys went to visit the man they saved.
I ran over to the door and I broke the door through. And I started running upstairs and Andrew ran over to phone the police, the fire brigade. And I covered my face with my jumper. And I shouted at him to see where his voice was. And I was following where his voice was coming from. And I picked him up and carried him down. And then stood him against the fence.
David Bowe, the Cleveland and Richmond MEP, has said tonight he's delighted the government has acted to ban dangerous laser pointers. Mr Bowe has been leading the fight against them in the North East after a number of incidents here in the region. The Trading Standards Minister, Nigel Griffiths, has ordered officers to remove from sale laser pointers which don't meet safety regulations. Middlesbrough have moved up to 3rd place in Division 1 after a comfortable 3-0 win over Huddersfield Town at the Riverside this evening. They took the lead when teenager Mark Somerville set up Paul Merson. The £5 million man rounded the goalkeeper and the Teessiders were on their way. Huddersfield, who are bottom of Division 1, were always struggling to cope with the Borough attack, and it was no surprise when Merson set up Mikkel Beck, who calmly lobbed the home side into a 2-goal lead. After the break, Middlesbrough added a 3rd goal. Craig Hignett was the man who made it, and Mikkel Beck was on hand to head home his 2nd of the night. The final score again, 3-0 to Middlesbrough. Nice one, the Borough. That's it. We're back at 6:10 tomorrow morning as part of GMTV. Until then, a very good night.
The North East Regional Weather, in association with Northumbrian Water, an important part of everyday life in the North East.
Good evening. Well, if you pop outside, you'll notice it's now getting pretty cold and we have a lot of clear skies, so we have a cold night in store, but we should be compensated by a fine day tomorrow. And of course, it's all due to the presence of the high pressure, That's with us, and it's going to stay with us for some time to come. So the details for tonight, well, it's dry, virtually clear skies, and just a light southerly wind. Later on in the night, we could find the odd patch of mist forming, but nothing serious at all. But I said it's going to be cold, and there we are, temperatures perhaps as low as -4 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow morning, a sunny start, a cold, frosty start, those early morning mist patches soon melting away, and really for the rest of the day, it's fine, virtually unbroken sunshine. Temperatures tomorrow, well, up to about 8 Celsius, that's 46 Fahrenheit. Here's the summary for tomorrow.
Blythe Lions Club assists groups in the Blythe Valley area in many ways. We need volunteers to help us transport disabled people to clubs in the area. If you can spare the time and would like to help, write to the following address: Blythe Lions Club, P.O. Box 2BH, Newcastle upon Tyne, NE99 2BH.
Wednesday in Emmerdale, a time for reflection.
She was full of life, and she was full of love.
At 7:30, confrontations in the streets.
We want an apology from your husband.
At 8, ghoulish goings-on with Bette Midler in Hocus Pocus.
Another glorious morning. Makes me sick.
Just a bunch of hocus pocus.
A spooky Wednesday on Channel 3 Northeast.
To the Alexandra Palace, now on Channel 3 Northeast, as Jill Dando introduces this year's Gramophone Awards.